Well, today I was able to pick up some of these Superman issues for funeral for a friend, and it made me want to talk about my Superman collection, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. It's mainly Death and Return of Superman, and yeah, so I guess I'll just get into it. Basically, whenever I was a kid, I pulled into a gas station with my mom and picked up this exact issue. Or wait, no, it was this one. I have another one because there was a time when my comic books were missing in action, and luckily my dad kept them for me because he's a cool guy like that. So he kept them safe and sound for me until I was able to grow up a little bit and stabilize and not move around so much. So basically, I picked this up whenever I was like, 12, 13, 14-ish, and read it, and I loved it. It actually affected me emotionally a little bit. I kind of felt bad after I read it. Like I felt real shitty that Superman died. Kind of weird, but I liked Superman. I liked the movies with Christopher Reeve and whatnot, and I guess I was just naturally attracted to comic book stuff and superheroes and whatnot. So after I read that and loved it so much, I proceeded to buy the Return of Superman and look for prior issues leading up to it, such as the ones that this include. Those issues there, to some degree of success over the years. Basically, it spawned a collecting sort of mentality, but also, I wanted to follow the story. But it also led to some collector mentality, which, as you probably know, I do collect random things, comic books, video games. I collected baseball cards at one point too, so that's a whole nother story as far as why that happened. But basically this is what really spurned my interest, or not spurned, but it lit the fire of interest for comic books on a serious level for me. So I'll move those aside. So basically this video is just going to be talking about my collection and the series, sort of like a overview, review, and my experience with it and what I think of it. So yeah, here are some of the issues. I have all of them. There's the big issue where he died. There's different variations of that issue where some of them are worth more money. I saw this issue in the comic book store today whenever I went to pick up these and some others, and it was signed and it was in this nice wooden box, but they wanted $250 for it, but that's not gonna happen. So here are some prior issues of the leading up to the death of Superman, and I have some duplicates here and there. So I'm only missing one issue of those, which is this Justice League issue here. So that'd be pretty sweet to get that to complete these issues here. I'm still gonna need to fill in this Funeral for a Friend. I think it's like 8 issues or so. So basically the series starts off with Doomsday coming to the picture. He breaks out of some cell, some holding tank type thing underground, and then he comes up and he just starts killing shit. He's fucking crazy. And nobody really knows anything about him. It's kind of left to a mystery for a while, actually. They don't really explain Doomsday's origins until much later, which I'll get to that, and a book talking about that if you're interested, if you can make it that long. So yeah, so basically he shows up and he starts fucking shit up, and you know, Superman's like, you know, trying to take him down, and the Justice League's trying to take him down, and just mayhem everywhere, basically. You know, and eventually Superman shuts him down, kills him, basically, to, you know, save everybody, because that's what Superman does. And then after he dies, there's the funeral series, you know, where they have a funeral for him, and, you know, weird shit starts happening. Pa, good old Pa, he fucking dies. And it's interesting that he dies when he does, because Superman, he goes to like a afterlife type scenario with where eventually he meets up with Pa, and you know, they sort of need each other, basically, to fight for their life, you know. And it's kind of like a weird afterlife abstract story type thing. So after that, let me see, where did I place it? There is the it starts the whole return of Superman. Oh, here we go. So we have the beginning of the return of Superman, where the Adventures of Superman 500, which also came in this polybag issue. And this is the same issue, same story, but different cover than what's inside of there. And obviously it's cheaper. It was cheaper. And so yeah, that one was just a read. And then like I was like, well, shoot, it's coming in a bag, right? That's going to be worth some money someday. So what? It's been quite a number of years. 93. And you know, if you look up prices for most of these things, they're not really worth a whole lot of money, even these. But there's like that issue 75. This issue, you know, can, you know, be worth some money depending on the variant of it and whatnot, which is interesting. This issue, which is the Death of Superman, is different than the regular edition here. This was the platinum edition, so it's got platinum, blah blah blah. This was like basically the first collectible type comic that I'd spent a significant amount of money on whenever I was a kid. It was like $40 or $50 as a kid, and there was a lot of chores and lawns to get mowed to get this, but I was real proud of it, you know. I was, you know, and it was an important piece to have too, because, you know, it wasn't just like, well, that's gonna be worth some money, you know. It was important to me to have like a nice edition of this particular trade, because I read it and it sort of, as I've already said, made a big impact on me. So you know, it's nice to still have this, you know, as an adult. It's surprising that I was able to hold on to it. So back to this. After, you know, he basically makes it out of the afterlife with his, you know, foster dad, basically. They release those issues, and there's these special issues here where other Superman start popping up, 4 of them to be exact. There's almost an exact duplicate, but he seems to be like a pissed off version of Superman, basically. you know, and these issues are cool because you can open them up and they have a nice picture of the actual Superman on, you know, the other side of the cover. Here's the standard, you know, issue for the black Superman. Here's his special cover, and then here's like the regular cover as well. And then there's the so there's a black Superman with the big sledgehammer over there, this guy, the pissed off Superman. Then there's the boy Superman, and then finally there's a really, one of my favorites was the Cyborg Superman. Let's see, I could probably open this up and show you an example. So you get it, and then it's got this cutout thing, and yeah, it's pretty badass, right? And you know, but at the same time, I'm like, who the fuck are these guys? And you know, what do they want? I'll just set this aside. But each has their own little story and origin and whatnot, which for the most part get explained later on as the story unfolds. And the following issues, so the story basically continues here with you know, the developing interests of each Superman, and what do they want, and what do they think, how do they think. There's the extremely patriotic Cyborg Superman trying very hard to look American. There's the boy Superman, Superboy, basically chasing after them girls. And then you have, you know, some foreshadowing type scenarios going on here, and you know, who is that guy watching them. And it's interesting to see, you know, who ends up being good and bad and whatnot, and what do they want, you know, how do they want it. And then eventually Superman does reappear. You know, applause, cheering ensues, and he teams up to take down basically the bad guys, you know, the bad Supermen that really don't seem to have Superman's interests at heart. And as we can see here, obviously teamed up with the kid and the black guy. And yeah, so they go on some adventures to hunt down the cyborg and whatnot. And you know, it's interesting to see how the story develops. I don't really want to give everything away as far as what's going on, and in case you want to check it out yourself. They released some special covers such as this foily transparent issue, which was $3.50 way back in the day. $3.50 as compared to the standard issue, usually like $1.25, $1.50. And then we had this special foil with fireworks everywhere. That was $2.50. And you know, the story progressed, and I continued to buy it up until I knew, or I felt confident that you know, the story had concluded into some, you know, strange stories. That this one was pretty sad. Basically, we can tell what happens here basically. And you know, I guess I mean, you would think that like somebody after going through all those issues would keep reading Superman, but I'm not really interested in, you know, your regular issues. I like a big story arc that develops a good story. You know, there was crossovers with other things, one-shots like this Bloodlines here, talking, you know, has a story with the Cyborg Superman. And there was one last thing, and that is this trade here. And I only found out about this much later on. And this is actually it's really good. Basically, it deals with Doomsday, basically aftermath. Basically, who is Doomsday? What does he want? Where did he come from? How is he created? You know, all that is basically covered in here. It's really cool. It's got like Green Lantern stuff. Silver Surfer makes an appearance. Basically, everybody's basically trying to stop Doomsday once and for all. And so yeah, it goes into his backstory a little bit, answers a lot of questions, and I highly recommend this. Like, if you read this other stuff, you're gonna definitely want to pick this up, just to sort of satisfy all of your curiosities about Doomsday. It would be nice too if they sort of got more into some of the other Superman that I mentioned earlier, but I feel like those were probably covered pretty well in the series leading up to, you know, the conclusion of it and the final return of the real Superman. But the big question mark was Doomsday. So it's, you know, but after I read through this, and I read it through, I picked it up at a bookstore, and I was like, wow, okay. I burned through that in, like, you know, one night basically. And they also have like a big, you know, a big issue where it covers you know, all of the books in here. You could still, I think you could still even buy this trade, but they have a big collection of this, and then like the Funeral for a Friend stuff, and all of this return stuff basically, and then they have this. So I mean, that's basically my Superman collection here. I have some other Superman stuff, but this is mainly about the death and the return of Superman, and Apocalypse, but Apocalypse is in this. You know, not the X-Men Apocalypse. That movie's gonna be sweet, but you know, the Superman Apocalypse. And but yeah, I was just wanted to share this with you and give my thoughts about it. It's a pretty good series as far as Superman goes, and you should check it out sometime. And I guess I'll catch you guys later. Bye.